Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and a very happy new year to you. I'm Jerry Cooey.
I'm Deborah Nelson. Thanks for joining us and Happy New Year.
And Deborah, you were just commenting that
First show of the new year.
First show of the new year.
And we're going into 4 years now on the air.
Going into 4 years. Just to reiterate on the FBI subpoenas, Santa Rosa Week TV covered. We were 15 for 15 on the requested documents by the FBI. All of the news media came in a far away second place.
Very distant second, yeah. They were playing catch up. Actually, I think they got some information from you, some of them.
So we're excited. We're happy. Look, it's a lot of fun to sit here in the palatial Santa Rosa Week TV station
Studios,
overlooking the beautiful Blackwater. Of course, we actually do the filming on the first floor, as you're seeing through the window here.
And that never changes.
We have our executive offices are up on the 6th floor. So should you want to come by the Santa Rosa Week TV offices on the beautiful Blackwater, just step into the elevator. 6th floor, the executive offices are there. We have an office for Best Boy, and we have one room for pets.
And mine would be the larger corner office.
First things, usually
we have some unpleasant national news.
I want to start out with a little sports thing. I usually don't do this, but as you can see, I'm proudly wearing my Saints jacket. I was a New Orleans Saints fan when it wasn't popular to be a New Orleans Saints fan, all the way back to the 70s, and they recently had a very, very, very good night. Racked up 600 yards of offense, set multiple records. And I just want to tip my hat to the New Orleans Saints, and I'm very excited that we have a strong representative from the southeastern United States of America to represent us in the future games in the playoffs.
Yes, that's very exciting.
Well, folks, I guess if
they on strike?
If there was
that's not football.
If there was some trees to hug at an NFL game, Deborah would be all for it. But we got to go over. Just finished the Iowa caucuses, and top 3 finishers: Romney, Santuri, and Mr. Ron Paul. Everybody else
is only one of those got a Mr. He's actually Dr. Ron Paul.
Dr. Ron Paul. Looks like Bachman is out of the race. She's been a lot of fun and she gives good speeches, but I think she's been found out, so she is withdrawn from the race. It appears that Perry's going to hang in there a little while, but I don't know what he's going to do with 13% of the vote.
It's ever so much more entertaining, though. I'm disappointed Bachman dropped out.
I guess that it'll all be fun to watch. Now, it appears that Newt Gingrich has really became angry with Mitt Romney, and they're going to start duking it out. So they'll probably eliminate each other before it's over with, and maybe Ron Paul can work his way to the top of the heap.
Well, y'all Republicans just got to be real proud of that field that you got this year.
Well, speaking of real proud of the Republican field, tell me again who it is you Democrats are running for president.
We're running the sitting president.
Really? And what's his name?
His name is President Barack Obama.
Barack Hussein Obama. Yes. Actually, it's pretty sad. Deborah and I, we sit here and jeer each other over politics, but it's a pretty sad mix for the country that's the choices that we have.
It would be nice to have a variety of choices, that's for sure.
Oh, I would just like someone to run for president that I couldn't find something on them.
Well,
virtually every one of them, they're either a Beltway insider,
right,
They've worked deals for their benefit. Land deals, the same thing that we have in Santa Rosa County. They do it in Washington, D.C. too.
Yeah.
We recently saw that the majority of them were doing insider stock trading. Of course, their money's in a blind trust, but whoever controls their blind trust just happens to know which stock to buy, And I just like, an ethical, moral person to step forward.
Well, they all managed to completely miss the point of any of these issues, and they're issues now. They're make or break issues for the country. The regulation of Wall Street, healthcare, stuff like that. And they all seem, except for a couple of them, managed to completely miss the main point of what the problem
Bankruptcy.
is. Of what the problem is and how to solve it. We were talking about this earlier with the foreclosures.
Right.
Of course, they let the banks get away. They gave them free money, our money, with the bailouts. And they, the interest-free money, which they turn around and lent back to us at 21%, 6%, 12%, whatever.
Right.
So they just basically made free money off us. Instead of forcing them to modify the loans, they let them get away with it. But when they finally came around, so we got to make them do a little something. They're looking at making them modify the principal. In other words,
right, reduce the interest rate.
The
principal, right?
Yeah, $120,000 house where you only owe 60, which is just stupid. The majority of what you pay on a house payment is the interest rate,
right.
And that's what knocked these people into bankruptcy to begin with. But they don't want to touch the interest rates because that will actually interfere with the bank's balance books.
Well,
so the problem just continues to fester.
It's just sad. I had a friend of mine who wasn't late on a payment, had not been late, never. The value of said property did decrease. The mortgage that was on the property was way higher than what it was currently worth, but had never missed a payment. The bank took action and said that there's a huge difference now, so you've got to pay us the difference up front. And what wound up happening to them is they said, here's the keys.
Yeah.
It's yours. So instead of working with some folks, they got the keys back. They had to maintain insurance and security and all that on it, trying to find a buyer for it. They went a long time that they didn't have any payments coming in on it. I mean, it was just dumb what they did.
They didn't. Not only did they not want to lose money, they didn't want to lose the profits that they had planned on.
Right.
And they ended up still making, after all that stuff.
Already had the profits on the books.
Yeah, they're making the same money they planned. They didn't even. It wasn't even a question of losing any money. They just wanted to make what they had. It was ridiculous.
Well, look, the whole thing and folks, what we're talking about with the national housing scene. Of course, Santa Rosa Week TV, we try to focus right here, but. Look, we've seen all kind of evidences. We've already had banks that have gone under. The feds have taken over several banks within Santa Rosa County. And they're all traced back to bad loans made on residential and commercial. And it was allowing people to get a mortgage on something when they had no visible means to make the payment on it. One hiccup, one sneeze was enough to knock a lot of these people into going 3 months without making the payment.
Yeah.
And then the house of cards start falling.
And we got to pay for it.
Well, ultimately we did pay for it, and we've suffered through a solid 3.5 years of a very flat economy because of it. And it all goes back to greed. I can remember. As I have aged, I can remember as a child the American dream, the white picket fence and the house. Well, I understand why they pushed that dream, because housing is what gives the biggest bang for the buck in the banking industry. It keeps the construction industry up. And as long as you're building more and everybody wants a bigger house and everybody wants to move to a bigger house, everything's good, no matter whether anybody can afford it or not. But one little hiccup, which we saw. Yeah.
Musical chairs.
It all falls to pieces.
Yeah. And they're still doing the same stuff that they were, but they haven't changed their habits because they haven't been forced to.
Right. One of the things that really surprised me, and learned this through talking with our current property appraiser, in Santa Rosa County after Hurricane Ivan, folks, you would be surprised at the number of houses that were sold 3 to 6 times. I'm talking about in a short period of time before somebody actually moved into it. As soon as the wind quit blowing and electricity was restored to the internet, there were people already buying and selling, bang, 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 bang. And in some of the housing problems that we had in Santa Rosa County was the music stopped playing, and there was some people sitting on way too many. They couldn't get rid of all that they had bought.
That's when they start looking for a government job.
Yeah, it's just a mess. Let's knock around on what Jeff Miller and a bunch of our congressmen voted on this week.
Jeff Miller, Senator Nelson, and Senator Rubio all voted in favor of the Defense Appropriations Act for this year.
Right.
The Defense Authorization Act for this year, which, among other things, reaffirms the government's ability to detain, quote unquote, American citizens indefinitely as some kind of terrorist, whatever.
Did that grab you there, folks? Subtitle D, counterterrorism. It's right here in black and white, folks. Your government can contain you indefinitely.
It's section it's section 1021.
Your government
Look it up.
can detain you indefinitely, and your congressman. And let me say that again. Your congressman, not my congressman, your congressman, Jeff Miller, voted for that foolishness. I would like to see Jeff Miller explain himself.
Yeah.
Actually, I'd like to see him detained for a little while by the government. But your congressman thinks so little of you. There it is, folks. Black and white. He signed for that. He voted for that. Along with other folks. Now, that'll never happen, Jerry.
Right. Sure. Well, it's already legal. This reaffirms it. What they had tried to do was they tried to sneak in language where the military could actually come arrest you.
Right.
And just carry you away in the middle of the night, like in some kind of dictatorship or something like that. And they took that out. But this is like the remaining ghost of it. This reaffirm the Patriot Act and all that other stuff already allows this stuff. But instead of taking some kind of leadership role and saying, "Wow, that's a problem," instead of taking that out completely, we end up with this.
Right. Once again, folks, your congressman. I will tell you. I don't mind saying it. I say it with no shame. Jeff Miller is not the kind of American that I want to be around. I'll tell you something else that's in this bill, and
well, every one of them should have been out there protesting this. I mean, this is just outrageous.
I'm going to clean this up a little bit because we try to keep this a family show. I'm not going to tell you everything that's in this bill, but I am going to say this. That included in this bill allows for sexual behaviors within the military that I think you would find distasteful. It authorizes bestiality in the U.S. military. Now, I would like to know how Congressman Miller can show up in a church and give a town hall and tout he believes in God and I'm a good American, and I'm the Republican, and I'm the guy.
Yeah. Well,
and then he signs off on bestiality and holding American citizens hostage.
The thing with the bestiality is apparently there was a whole clause. There were, because they're getting rid of Don't Ask, Don't Tell, and they're allowing gays to serve.
That's fine.
They had to get rid of They had to address the entire clause, and that was
I will be in the 21st century and understand the gay issue. I have not once seen a group of gays marching on behalf of having intimate relations with animals.
I hear you. Apparently, they had to get
Okay.
rid of all of it. Is my understanding.
Well,
And they-
all I'm saying is your Congressman Jeff Miller voted for it.
the detention or the detention, the rendition, and all that other stuff is really the concerning issue here. I mean, this basically is the knock at the middle of the night. You know.
Oh, well,
And
absolutely.
you're dragged off. And
Absolutely.
nobody sees you again.
Absolutely.
And it's very nebulous what kind of activities. I mean, it's not well defined.
My biggest concern is we have a U.S. congressman that wraps himself in the flag
Yeah.
and proclaims to be a great American, and he's out there looking out for us, and he signs off on a bill where they can come to your house and drag you off, folks.
Yeah, I mean, that's
All right? Look, we've got an election this year, folks, 2012. You've heard me say it before. We are hanging over the abyss, and we've got one fingernail dug into the edge of the cliff. All right? All of them need to go. Jeff Miller needs to be the first one in line to pack up and get back to Chumuckla, Florida, because he is not the American that he portrays himself. He is not the man that he leads you to believe he is, and this is a perfect example of it, folks. He, by his authorization, can send the police to your house and detain you indefinitely for no good reason. He voted for that. There's no running from it. There's no hiding from it. Him, Rubio, the rest of the scumbags voted for it. They are guilty of treason as far as I'm concerned. They are putting your life at risk, your family at risk, when they can drag you out of your house and keep you detained indefinitely. It is a shame, it is a travesty, it is a black spot on America that we have a group of congressmen that don't think any more about the citizens of the United States of America than to pass trash such as this. And I'm not going to judge them. I'll let God be the judge. I wish them the best of luck when they get there.
13 senators voted against it. 136 House members voted against it. Jeff
Right.
Miller was not one of them.
Right.
Jeff Miller is actually, well, and he's on the Armed Services Committee, which is the entity that
He's going to be the one that
Negotiates
authorizes
these
them to
Right.
come to your house and drag you off.
it's just, I don't understand how anybody can vote for this thing. I don't get it at all.
I don't see how anybody can vote for Jeff Miller to start out with. Folks, showed it to you in black and white. Jeff Miller, a U.S. congressman who drapes the flag around himself, has authorized the police to come to your house and drag you off in the middle of the night for your family never to see you again without any explanation, simply because they have a feeling you may have a problem, folks. And don't listen to them when they say it'll never happen here, because it's already happened here. In the city of New Orleans in Hurricane Katrina, they were gathering up weapons from good citizens who were
Yeah.
trying to defend themselves. So don't tell me that it can't happen here.
And let's not forget they hired Blackwater to do that. I mean, they actually hired a private security firm to go in and do the dirty work, and that I could easily see that happening.
That is
again.
absolutely
Yeah,
right.
It's very disturbing.
Let me say it again. He's not a good American. I'm sick and tired of this kind of stuff. He'll come to your town when he's not hiding from somebody, because he's usually hiding. Congressman Miller, you know who you are. You don't want to debate anybody. You want to stand up in front of an audience and yell, "Shut up" at folks. This is the kind of trash that comes out of Jeff Miller right here and his colleagues. Washington, D.C. doesn't care a thing about you folks. You're not safe in your own home, and your hometown boy did it to you. Let's talk about this story in Escambia County. Just becomes more and more intriguing to me every day. This is the Forrest Gibbs story, the equestrian center in Escambia County. We have a sitting commissioner in Escambia County, Wilson Robinson, who looks like the proof was pretty solid to me that he allowed this individual, who was a friend of his, to use his name as a reference, which is a violation of Florida law. It also appears that he lobbied those that were on the hiring committee, which is a violation of Florida law. Interestingly enough, of course, and folks, hey, I may sound like a broken record, but the truth is the truth. The state attorney's office looked at it, and there just wasn't any problem there. Old Wilson Robinson, he just didn't do anything that was real problematic. But I'm very proud of the citizens in Escambia County. They stood up and they said, this is wrong. We're not going to put up with it. I'll tell you, there were some citizens there that were angry at that meeting, and they called for the resignation. One lady called for the resignation of the entire staff of Escambia County. Several of them called for the resignation of Wilson Robinson. My guess is that Commissioner Robinson knew that the state attorney's office wouldn't do anything to him, so he stood his ground and said, well, I didn't do anything wrong. Well, by the definition of the state attorney's office of the 1st District, Mr. Bill Edmonds, according to him, there's never been a politician that he's ever met that's ever done anything wrong. But, so they pulled Gibbs off the job, which I think was the right thing to do. We got to start over. We wipe the slate clean. Everybody puts their applications in again. Everybody's going through the process. Of course, very interesting, folks. The job description was rewritten again so it more fit Forrest Gibbs. You see, folks, people are desperately needing a job right now, and Forrest Gibbs has a high school diploma. The vast majority of the other candidates were college graduates with marketing degrees and years of experience, so they had to. It's obvious to me, of course this is my humble opinion, but they watered down the application so a high school graduate would have a shot at it, even though they had 25 or 30 folks that had massive degrees
and experience. It's good to have friends in high places.
But to add insult to injury, if all of this is not enough, Mr. Gibbs apparently has taken it upon himself to sue 3 county commissioners. Of course, he
don't forget they also raised the salary after he got the job.
That's right.
We need to not leave that out.
They raised the salary. He needed a higher salary if he's going to take the job, so they went ahead and bumped that up. But Gene Valentino wasn't at the meeting, and of course Forrest Gibbs is not going to sue Wilson Robinson, his sponsor, so he sued the other 3 county commissioners. And I think it's completely laughable. The state of Florida, it's at will employment. They can let you go anytime they want to with no reason. But what kind of sense does it make that you're in the running again? And folks, look, they just recently announced that Gibbs made the top 8 again. But now he's suing the county. Now, from a strategic standpoint, I might have sued the county after I didn't get the job for the second time, or after I got the job the first time.
Right.
But I wouldn't do it in the middle here, while I'm waiting to see if I'm going to get this job.
He doesn't want it to look like sour grapes. He's expecting maybe he won't get selected. I don't know. We don't know.
Well, it's just another sad chapter in Escambia County. It's of course we have plenty of sad chapters in Santa Rosa County too. Escambia County doesn't have the market cornered on us. I noticed that the Pensacola News Journal ran the top 10 stories of the year.
Yeah.
Team Santa Rosa and the foolishness of the contract.
Yes.
Business was number 1. The loss of Clearwire was number 2. Bob Cole, FBI and the IRS raided his house and his business was 3. And the FBI subpoenas at Team Santa Rosa was number 4. So, excuse me, in Santa Rosa County, Team Santa Rosa makes 3 out of the top 4 stories.
Well, they've been looking for earned newspaper coverage. That's the term, an increase in earned newspaper coverage, media coverage. So there you go.
Well, they're certainly getting
that goal is being reached.
folks, and I'm sure you've heard this. I remember hearing it from my grandparents and my parents. When there's not that much smoke, there must be some fire. Folks, you don't get 3 FBI subpoenas. You don't get lawsuits against you. You don't get all these other things that's happened to you if there's not some level of concern there.
There's certainly some concern.
And we continue to play the game with Team Santa Rosa. Why, I do not know. I wish the Board of County, if the Board of Team Santa Rosa will not replace Miss Anderson with a qualified employee to handle marketing and economic development for Santa Rosa County, then I say the Board of County Commissioners needs to shut it down and say we're just not paying you anymore. We'll start over.
Well, they still want their contract extended. We'll see if that happens. As of this taping, we don't know what they're going to decide to do.
Right.
Early January, they're supposed to talk about that. But
yeah, January the 9th, they're supposed to have
and they want
discussion.
$100,000 for a new deer leader, I guess.
Yeah, folks, I mean, let your commissioners know. Call the county offices, and let your commissioner know. I mean, we have certainly, I think, laid out a very good case against Team Santa Rosa having anything to do with Santa Rosa County.